Chill. Would you...
All right. We are live.
Amazing.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back. How was your evening? Good. All right.
Ours was long.
Ours wasn't long. We
very
ran
long.
about an hour and 15 minutes late today.
What's new?
Once again, we are starting the show at least 30 minutes later than we wanted to, if not even more than that. So we are going to try and be quick tonight because it is really annoying ending this show in the pitch black darkness.
And, like, getting, maybe 4 hours of sleep?
I'm so tired, everyone. I'm so tired. So we're gonna hop right in. So first things first, what the after show is, if this is your first time tuning in and watching, basically this is like your favorite Survivor podcast, but we're on camera. So Kelsey and I are gonna chat with our special guest tonight, a little bit about everything that's happened today, give you a recap, how we think players are doing, what we think their strengths are, maybe some questionable choices that they made throughout the day, all that good stuff. If you want a short and sweet and completely factual recollection of the day, check out the daily recap document. It is up to date with everything that's happened today, including tribals and challenge results. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more of an in-depth analysis of the game and some interpretations of the game that we have come upon based on what we've seen, then stay tuned and hang out with us for about the next hour or so. Alrighty, so again, we're gonna hop straight into it today.
Yeah. So beginning of the day were the tribal councils. Initially we were supposed to have 4. We ended up only having 3. It was already briefly stated, but just to reiterate, Tawa did not end up going to tribal council. Chris has been removed from the game for external reasons. Therefore, they did not go to tribal.
Didn't need to.
So we had Coco, Liaya, and Lonan attend tribal councils this morning. Do you want to talk about the first tribal council?
Yeah, so they attended tribal based on the results of reward day yesterday. So the bottom 4 teams, or in this case the bottom 3 teams, all had to attend. So our first tribal council, our lowest scoring team yesterday was Lonan by quite a large margin. They really struggled yesterday, and they went to tribal council and voted out the first member of season 11, which was Aaron, and that was a unanimous vote with Nick catching the stray vote on that tribe. It seemed like at that tribal, a lot of the things that they talked about were just kind of the morale of their team. Mm-hmm. And so I think, and this was something I believe you mentioned yesterday too, so maybe it could have been a precursor to that it seemed like Aaron kind of struggled with maybe some of the, like maybe brought a little bit of negativity to the tribe. I mean, you're losing all these challenges, like literally, how do you not? Same vibes. But yeah, so it seemed like they were kind of thinking about how to move forward in challenges, stay positive, and so maybe they were trying to lean that direction, but that was kind of what I gleaned from that tribal.
Yeah.
Unsure.
I think that sounds just about right. I was paired with that group yesterday. One thing that Elisa said when she was making her picks of the groups is that she did kind of want to prioritize kind of like vibe of the tribe and gelling with people over maybe picking people known for their challenge prowess. So you did see that play out with them not doing as well in reward day, and then potentially making that first tribal council decision based off of vibes. Yeah, just vibes.
I will say though, and I think that's very telling of Elisa specifically, because she is such a vibe person. Like she was cheering, yelling all day today, and obviously her tribe did a lot better today. Spoiler alert. But yeah, she is like the energy queen, I think, this season. Like she is always smiling, always really peppy, bubbly. So I love to see that from her today. She was a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely. Obviously, sad to see anyone go. Sad to see Erin go. I feel like she is somebody who, with her profession, I mean, she quite literally teaches a class about Survivor.
At the very least, has written a paper on Survivor and like gender bias.
She is a professor and is amazing, smart, talented, an incredible person. And it is really unfortunate that with these smaller tribes, it can just come down to getting a little bit frustrated in a challenge or two.
Yeah, really just one thing. Again, we've talked about it and said it a million times, but an inch becomes a mile, a mountain, a molehill, whatever one that one is. But it really comes down to just the littlest thing in some of these things. So we saw Lonan go to that one. Next one we had was Wiaya. Wiaya, I think, was probably on reward day became my favorite tribe personally. I just feel like all of them were such strong competitors individually. It just seemed like sometimes during the course of this entire day today, they just couldn't quite get on the same page during some of the challenges, or maybe just each of them had a little bit of a struggle. But I really, really like this tribe, and I adored Kelsey, who was voted out here in a 4-1 vote, with Kaylee catching the stray vote at this tribal. That became a consistent theme today on Weaya as well. Kaylee taking on all the stray votes. But yeah, Kelsey was just like so sweet. She is friends with a couple of players from last season in Orlando, and she is just like, when you look at her, you're like, you're too nice for this game. I was talking to her after she got voted out, and she was like, can't you see, like, I'm not even a threat. Why are they voting me out? Take out the threats. And I'm like, well, Kelsey, that's a pretty good read, honestly. So maybe I don't think she's giving herself enough credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think she's a lot more clever than she gives herself credit for. And, you know, from one SC pre-merge Kelsey to the next, you know, maybe it's not the worst thing, because I will say she seems like such a vibrant personality. I have already witnessed her interacting with the cast and crew a lot, or I mean the cast that's been voted out and the crew, and she seems like such a bubbly and amazing individual. And I think I had thoughts, now they're leaving me.
It's been a long day. We've already been here for 10 hours. No, we've already been here for
it was a really great point, so that's super
12
unfortunate.
It's a scary bug.
But yeah, I think she is the entire tribe, like you said, like they were really easy to root for, and it seemed to, like, when they were going to tribal, you knew you were losing a strong player that
Absolutely.
if they were kind of in a bigger tribe format, probably would not have gone home this early.
I really agree, and I think that was something that maybe I just felt really strongly about a lot of players this season, but I did feel like a lot of people we lost today, I was like, if you weren't in a tribe of 5, you wouldn't have gone home. There's nowhere to hide. I was like, that's how Kelsey knows she has something to say.
Okay. Well, because I used to be bad at interrupting people, and that's rude. So
That's really good of you.
That's gross.
Okay.
Okay. For Kelsey's loved ones specifically, I wanted to let you in on this little behind the camera inside tidbit. Every night at our production Airbnb, we do happy crappies at the end of the night, and I hope that is okay that I share that one person's happy was literally just being able to interview Kelsey in her confessional last night. They mentioned that she was just basically kind of remembered their why of why they're here, why they love the game, why they love what they do. And so in that alone, like, this experience maybe wasn't what she wanted it to be, but she is a gift to other people, and snaps for Kelsey.
Snaps for Kelsey. Yeah, we loved you, Kelsey. And still love you. You're still a good person even though you're not in the game, so keep that in mind. Alrighty, next we saw Coco voted out. No, that's not what we saw. We saw Coco go to Tribal Council, with Lee voted out in a 4-1 vote, with KP taking the stray vote there at that Tribal. So our first 3 votes, all unanimous vote outs. So I think that makes a lot of sense, right? You have the entire night before to think about, plan what you want to do, and then execute it the next day. So there's just a lot of time. And from what it sounded like at that Tribal, I think that the other contestants said that it was just kind of a little bit of a late start for Lee to get strategizing. It was something they kind of had to pull out of her a little bit more than they would have wanted to. And I think that, you know, makes sense. We did mention there was a bit of a gap in age, so maybe like just the styles of communicating were different, because I think Lee is a gamer. I think she came out here ready to play. She wanted to play. I got a chance to talk with her afterwards. So I think maybe it wasn't so much that she wasn't, you know, maybe she just wanted to play in a different way than they wanted to play, or it just didn't like really connect as easily. So yeah, I was disappointed to see Lee go, because I think she would have been a huge force to be reckoned with in some of our later challenges, especially I would have loved to see Lee absolutely body someone in Sumo SC. Like, you know, great. She's small. Oh, it would have been so good. Yeah. So I was disappointed in that. But Lee, yeah, she's so sweet. Drove here from Arkansas, I found out today, which actually is a lot closer than I thought. But I was still impressed. So
yeah, she is somebody that I think, obviously we've talked about her physical prowess, but in bumping into her a little here and there after she's been eliminated, I've been impressed with just how like social and like dynamic she is. Like, you know, some contestants, they need a little bit to kind of decompress after getting voted out, and maybe even after that they're not quite as likely to just approach anyone and everyone. But I was in the garage getting some food today, and she just struck up a conversation
Yeah.
with me like that. We're talking about national parks, and we had a great conversation because I was like, okay, maybe I wanted also to just get rid of you because you are a physical beast and also very social.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes when a woman who is a little bit older gets voted out, it's easy to think like, oh, did they just get voted out because they were like some type of liability, whether that's physical or social. But I think with Lee, it really could have been the fact that she was just impressive.
Yeah, she was awesome. Is awesome. Again, not lacking awesomeness just because she's not in the game anymore. Alrighty, so after those 3 tribals, we did move on to our first challenge of the day. There's something in my hair and I don't know what it is, and it's really bothering me. Anyways, maybe I'll get it someday. We moved on to our first challenge of the day, and it was called It's a Drag. For this one, it was a multi-part element challenge. Essentially what they had to do was a couple of tribe mates had to swim a platform across the pond. Then we had another tribe mate dig something up in the sand pit. They had to drag their tribe mates across the field on this sled that they brought across the water, and it all ended in a puzzle. And the puzzle we saw became the equalizer here. It was an incredibly difficult puzzle that we haven't seen actually since like season 7. And I remember that because Travis failed to complete it and we had to go to tribal council. But it was a really tough puzzle, and we saw 3 tribes come out with immunity there. It was Wiyaya, Lonan, and Tawa, which sent Wapoon and Coco back to tribal council.
I mean, I'd be remiss to not make a moment of Lonan coming out and like slaying the sleigh challenge, if you will. It was so awesome to watch him get that win, and like, yeah, they had like 1 or 2 good moments yesterday, but like those kind of just felt like moral victories that
like
couldn't
consolation
really be
prizes almost. Yeah,
absolutely. So to watch him get this win and keep that streak going today was so fun.
And they were ecstatic. Like they erupted with joy.
Literally, the other tribes were ecstatic for them.
Yeah, they
and
really were.
You just love to see that. But yes, that unfortunately sent Wapoon to tribal council, which kind of seemed fitting as they were the only tribe that were, well, they were the only tribe that should not have gone to tribal council this morning. So they were only the only people did not yet lose a contestant. So not that we are rooting for or against any specific tribes, but you know, from a perspective of the audience and production and the cast, you never really quite know what the dynamics are until you're forced to put pen to parchment. So it was very fun to be able to see right away them kind of be forced into making that decision, because sometimes, you know, with a stronger tribe, I think they even stated in their tribal council, they kind of thought, oh, we kind of thought we were going to be good. We thought we were going to compete well, and maybe it wasn't going to come to this so quickly.
Especially considering you don't know, you don't know when the swap is going to be, right? Or if there's going to be a swap. Some seasons we haven't swapped in the past, and some we've swapped within a couple of votes on that first day where we eliminate people. So I think they were hoping, you know, oh, we go 3 challenges in these tribes, then we swap, and it's like, no, you're actually going to go like 7, which a lot more people went home than I think they were expecting in those tribes. But when Wapoon went to tribal, they were the first ones to attend. They voted out Amelia in a 4-1 vote, with Griffin catching the stray vote there. I personally was really upset to see Amelia go. She was the lone female presenting contestant on that tribe, and I think that, you know, it almost felt like the easy way out for the guys to kind of team and be like, oh, let's just do this. And that we have no idea. I mean, at least I don't know if that's why they ended up making that vote or not. But yeah, it was disappointing to see Amelia go home for me because she is a friend of mine. I went to her wedding last year. It was beautiful and amazing, and I loved it.
And she's beautiful and amazing, and we
loved her. Oh, we love her. Currently, I gotta stop doing that. Like, yep, you're out of the game. You're out of my brain. I never met you. But no, yeah, I think if she could have gone a huge, like, I think long haul in this game if she had maybe gotten her footing on a different tribe.
Absolutely. Do we want to take a quick pause before the next challenge in tribal council to bring in our special guest, or?
Yes, I think maybe talk about Coco's tribal first, and then before we get to the next challenge. So the second tribe and the tribe that had to go back to tribal council was Coco. So everyone through that Wapoon tribal were down to 4 contestants, and now Coco's going back and knocking themselves down to 3 contestants on their tribe. And those 4 people on the tribe at the time were KP, Declan, Owen, and Jay. And Jay also, now we have been made aware, we will be referring to Jay as Drew, which is their preferred name, which we were not aware of. So apologies, Drew. But we will be referring to, again, previously Jay as Drew for the remainder of our time on Survivor Challenge.
The
Survivor
remainder
Challenge
of forever
After Dark.
until they tell us otherwise.
Yeah, basically, that's a better way to put it, yes. Exactly. So, on Coco, we saw Owen catching 3 votes, with Drew catching that stray vote at that tribal. And this one was emo. This one was emo for everyone that watched it. You could see when Coco lost this challenge, like, they did a group hug probably for a solid, like, 2 minutes. Like, just hugged it out. I think that we were talking about it, I think, earlier, the two of us, where it's just, when you have these really small tribes, you bond so much quicker. It's not a tribe of 8. You're talking to everybody all the time. Everyone's participating in every challenge. Like, you're bonding so much faster. So it made a lot more sense that a lot of our tribals today, we saw a lot of really emotional contestants because you're voting out, like, your chosen family, basically. Well, I guess you didn't choose them. We chose them for you. But you're voting out, like, your extended, you know, your SC family, your original family. So it was a really, really tough vote. Owen took it quite hard. Everyone who voted for Owen took it quite hard.
Everyone took it hard.
It was sad.
It makes sense. Like, we literally commented last night that they are a tribe that feels things passionately for the better and for the worse. And so it's no surprise to me that they made really, really strong bonds with each other. And yeah, I mean, the intensity of that emotion came through with how sad that they were to lose Owen.
Yeah, absolutely. But now we're going to take a break before we talk about Last Idol Standing, our next challenge. And we're going to bring in a really good friend, a guy that we love and who is great.
And he might know a thing or two. Please welcome to the unofficially named after show, Eric Eldridge. Woo!
Eric!
Season 10 alumni. We are thrilled to have Eric here. He's part of the video crew this year. And we thought it would be a great idea to bring him on as somebody who has a lot of eyes on things, being on video team. Everybody is so spread out this year with the 25 and 5 tribes of 5 that, like, me and Sam, you know, I was about to say we only have 2 eyes. We do have 4.
We only have 2 eyes.
We're only 2 people, so we miss a
eyes.
lot. And we are so excited to have Eric here to tell us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me. Woo! Oh my God. First of all, I will not really be providing any insight. I don't know who okayed this guest to be on here.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that I need help on tribe names from you two. So you're going to provide the tribe names and some of the big picture stuff. I've had my face buried in my camera all day. I might have picked up a few things that I can pass on, and definitely got some thoughts on the players. So thanks for having me.
Definitely have some good shots too on the camera. You've been all over the place, on the ground, up in the air, everywhere.
Probably got about 6 ticks throughout the day.
Yeah. And as a video team alum, like, it is truly, to you and to the camera, the hardest job that exists in Survival Challenge. I believe wholeheartedly. So just in general, thank you for all the hard work that you have been doing, and I'm glad that somebody as knowledgeable about this stuff is doing it now instead of me, who generally didn't even know if I was even recording or not when I was holding the camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just so excited for this season to come out, because with the tech that Will has and the talent that you have, it's going to be amazing.
Expectations getting a little high.
Okay,
Ramp those back down.
You know, okay. I was going to say.
I still mess up all the time. You know, sometimes my mic's not plugged in. There's no sound. Sorry, by the way, in advance.
I'll humble you a little bit and say that you're great at what you do, but as far as this, you are the personality hire of bringing on to the after show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What can I do for you?
Well, I'll tell you. First, I would love to know, was there any specific player today, whether it was like early in the day, middle of the day, anything? We'll kind of just go through all of it, because as a heads up, they both swapped and merged today, so a lot happened today in terms of Survival Challenge gameplay. Like, we went literally from 25 people to 13 in 10 hours. Like, it was a big day. So that being said, you had a very, I think, wild experience on your swap tribe, and then making it to merge with a very chaotic swap tribe, I would say, in your experience. So what players stood out to you in terms of how well they navigated their original tribes and then moving to their swap tribes, if you can say?
Yeah, so Survival Challenge is like a gauntlet. You get 2 days to do a lot of fun challenges, and then boom, 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 boom. You gotta die and kill everybody.
Literally.
So, I would say that what I've learned is you gotta really set yourself up for success. You gotta think several steps ahead, and you gotta really lock things in with people and make them trust you. And the player I think is doing the best at that, without a doubt right now, from my very limited point of view, is KP. KP is a killer, man. KP navigated that original tribe easily. I think. Got to the final 2 with Declan, and I think, the Owen vote you alluded to just a few minutes ago is certainly emotional, I think, for everybody. I think KP was in it to win it and meant business and was a lot more cutthroat, and the results show. So I know she's also very funny and setting herself up very well into the merge from what it seems. So she's been killing it.
That yellow bucket hat is also, it's like a paid actor, I feel like, on her head. Like, she's really doing work with the yellow bucket hat. I like it.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's like is it a coincidence or is it not a coincidence that the 2 people left on that tribe before the swap were the 2 people with yellow bucket hats?
Not a coincidence at all. Take note, future players, when you go to Walmart or Amazon before the game, get that yellow bucket hat.
Absolutely.
Also, would be remiss if I didn't include Declan in that. Also made it down to 2. Obviously, they're doing great too. And, the flip side of that, though, is that everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Target's on them. A lot of people talking about them being the survivors of that tribe.
I think similarly, right? If your tribe gets decimated to 2 people and you're one of the last people standing, doesn't matter what you do in the game, you're going to be seen as a duo, a locked-in duo with your respective partner. So we talked about, obviously, KP and Declan. What do you make of Nicole and Kaylee in their relationship? Which one maybe do you think is going to be seen as a bigger threat in terms of duo?
Ooh, they both done very well as well. I know Nicole personally, and she's a savage player. She's doing great in this game, and I think Ryan maybe trusted her a little bit too much.
Yes.
And she pulled that rug right out from under him, and no surprise there. Kaylee, I've been watching this game, learning more about her. They're doing great. I think that it's a credit to both of them that they survived that vote, because on paper you might say, well, there's 2 orange and then 1 of every other color. I don't know the tribe names, forgive me.
Sure.
The other 3 could easily gang up, but no, they both saved themselves and made other people trust them. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Nicole got a vote. I would say Nicole might be getting a little more attention just because she was the one who was the backup plan that vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kaylee is no stranger to votes today. I would love to know what her total is up to. It felt like every time I was making those graphics for Instagram, every other time I just inserted the name Kaylee to the one. And I mean, hey, if you're only getting 1 per, that's
pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a resume builder right there.
It really is, because I think that it shows that you're a threat, but you're doing what you need to do to make sure that you're insulated enough to stay in the game.
For sure. I got a question for you two.
Ooh.
On my season, the backup vote, the player who got a vote, almost invariably went home the next round. Hasn't really been the case as much this season. What do you attribute that to?
I think that's actually a wonderful point, and I think if you look at all the others, don't quote me exactly,
I will, yeah.
I have my notes. She's going down.
We're both going to quote you.
I do believe Owen had been the vote that Lee had written down. I do believe that...
Don't think
No.
so. I believe that was KP.
KP was the vote.
So we will quote you on that.
So she's been quoted
Absolutely.
and disproven.
Okay, literally never mind. I don't know if it's actually happened once, but you're right. Usually, the person that gets their name written down at the tribal council by the person that is going out is the person that goes home. And if that happens to you in the future...
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. See? Look at us. Look at us.
I'm learning.
You need to be like, oh, shoot, what can I do before the next tribal in order to make sure it's not me? But with Kaylee, it is very interesting. It is almost starting to be a Q situation from last season of like, if you see Q's name written down, like if you see Kaylee's name written down, you should, or not even written down, but like if you just hear it, if that's what you're told, I feel like at this point you should kind of start to not believe it, because her name has been written down at just about every tribal council she has attended, and she's never the one to leave.
If you think it's Kaylee, your time is coming.
It's actually you.
You're in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
I think I do think though that it felt very much like I'm gonna throw out Kaylee's name as the vote that we should vote for. The person going home is saying, no, we should vote for Kaylee, because I said this yesterday. It seemed like she was driving a lot of the votes on the Weaya tribe, or the Orange tribe for Eric, since he doesn't know their names. But
and maybe some other viewers. You know?
yeah, okay.
Let's
touche,
dumb this down
touche.
to kindergarten level for those of us who can't compute fast.
Yeah, but it does seem like I really think that she might have been driving some of those votes. So they're like, hey, like, I'm putting on my flashers. Like, why aren't you taking out this really big threat, this person who we know is going to play really hard? But she's playing really hard. So I think that she's insulated herself well on that tribe, obviously really well enough to get down to the final 2 people that are left.
Absolutely. There's nothing that scares people more than a strong, confident woman in this game.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. And
Kaylee.
she clearly is that. I think it's really awesome that Kaylee and Nicole, as well as KP and Declan, you know, they are people that are either identify as female or non-binary, and they are the foursome that kind of made it down to the 2
nitty-gritty.
people left standing. And with the amount of women that we have seen go early in this season, and just in general in Survivor lore, I think it's really cool for them to have like outlasted the other people on those tribes, because you know, we have lost a lot of women. What do you think that kind of sticks out about KP, Nicole, and Kaylee that made them be the ones to kind of persevere?
First of all, let me say we hate it when women go home early. I would never vote out 2 women first on my tribe.
No, you wouldn't. You'd never. You'd get canceled, maybe. I don't
You
know.
did.
I think I did get canceled for a
Yeah,
little bit there.
probably.
You did.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
me. I canceled you.
I think
Rip Champagne and Candace.
You know, in this game that's so fast moving, we talked about it before, I could only guess that those 3 players you mentioned are just making people trust them the most. I think we've seen some newer players who might be playing their first game ever. They don't realize how you need to really commit and make people believe what you're saying. You can't be non-committal. You can't talk game on day 2. And I would guess that those 3 made people trust them the most. That's my guess.
That's such a good point. I remember leaving my first game, and I did terrible. And I thought, like, why didn't this person keep me? It was so obvious that I wanted to work with them, or, you know, yada, yada, yada. And it's like,
Only in your mind.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
your mind. And so you have to make what is obvious to you obvious to the other people. So I can't be like, yeah, hey, Eric, I like you. And 3 days later, he's going to take that as, oh yeah, I want to keep Kelsey
Right.
in this game. It's like, I have to keep coming to you,
Check
keep coming
in,
to you, keep coming to you.
reinforce, yeah.
And, you know,
Nicole did that with Ryan.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it worked out.
I love that.
Okay, we've talked a lot about,
We've
go
talked
ahead.
a lot. I was gonna say we talked a lot about those 2 remaining. So let's talk about original Wapoon, which was the Coral tribe. Was there anyone that stood out on that tribe? They ended the day with what, 4 of their, or started the day with, they won. Then they had 4 people in after that first tribal, which we already talked about. So since we did see Amelia go home, those boys left on Wapoon. We had Griffin, Luke R, Paul, and Ned on that tribe. Did you have anything to say about any of those people today based on what you saw from them?
For sure. When you ask who's standing out, I mean, in a split second, Paul, obviously. It's Paul. Like, come on.
I can hear his voice from here, I think, actually.
Paul is here to have fun. He said as much, and I think he's doing it. He's out here to be himself. He's telling stories any chance he gets, and he's making. He's playing a game that's no fear. I'm going to be the center of attention. I'm going to be loud. And now we're at the merge. This is the time when it usually starts to catch up to you if you're being the Paul of the season. But he's done a good job navigating the game despite doing that. Now, Ned is someone who did get a chance to peek at his game a little bit. Ned's got a really sharp mind for this thing. He's talking a lot about setting himself up for success, getting different groups of people to work with him. You know, I'm saying kind of vague things right now, but you could tell his mind's working. He's thinking. He's doing a lot more behind the scenes than I think he lets on.
Yeah.
He's the type of player who's playing a little dumb, playing a little like calm.
That last night.
There's a lot more going on in that guy's mind for sure.
Yeah, I remember he talked in his casting video or his like intro video about like trying to be underestimated. And I think we even saw at the very end of the day after the merge auction, he was giving away the rewards. He was saying like, no, don't worry about it. You guys go on that excursion. I don't have to go. He was really, it just seemed like he was trying to play like a nice guy moment, really trying to appease everybody. And I feel like he's doing that so he can just sit back, observe, figure out where everybody else is at and understand like how can I, you know, kind of get around their strategy, insert my own. Like I feel like he's reading this game really well. So for you to say that and you know more than I do, I'm really excited about it because that was my read too.
There you go. Let's just confirm. Let's just assume that we're both right about that.
Perfect.
I want to mention just quickly Luke on that tribe, the Coral tribe. Wapoon.
We did
Hey!
I've heard him say multiple times now that he expects to go right after the merge. He just wants to get to the merge. He wants to do some individual challenges, and then he's probably going to get taken out. Do you think, is that really what Luke thinks? Or is he just trying to somehow lowers threat level by saying, I'm a huge threat, so I'm going to go. Is this emergent gameplay?
Is this something that you feel like you have heard him say in a not behind the camera setting?
Public setting.
Okay.
Public setting.
Oh, that's gameplay.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's gameplay, right?
I mean, but also like not perception as reality, but like manifesting, like almost like it's kind of like when you say
Self-fulfilling
something
prophecy.
there.
He's reverse
Thank
jinxing
you.
himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's exactly. But it's like, yeah, it's like if you say it, then people are like, okay, we need an easy vote right now. Like they're going into this merge. They're probably going to try and come to some consensus for the first vote tonight because this is the one time they have a long period of time to talk about a vote. And if they're like, you know what, if we need an easy one, why don't we make Luke the second one? We pick a hard vote now. Luke's an easy one for the next one. He expects it. He knows it. Why not?
Yeah.
Luke's got merged boot tattooed on his forehead. Let's be real.
I feel like
Did you guys get matching tattoos? Because I feel like that's
we're gonna talk after the game, I'm sure. Yeah.
I feel like whenever people do that kind of strategy, I can't help but immediately think of like it's Zeke, right, from Survivor, who did that like move of like, oh, I'm gonna tell everyone I don't want to be here, so they'll want to keep me, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a
Does it
a
work?
reverse psychology thing, but sometimes it's
Reverses?
like Uno reverse, and
Yeah.
it's just psychology, and you're just giving them the
Yes.
idea to vote you out.
You're right. You're gone. Yeah, you nailed it.
Especially with like the merge vote as chaotic. There's a lot of people coming together. I think we've seen this on like the show proper and in SC. Sometimes it's like you really are just like looking for that easy, congenial vote. Now, do I actually think it's gonna happen? I don't know. I would like to see the reverse psychology pay off. Ned and Luke were the two people last night that we kind of were like, oh wait, they're still here. But we said that could be a good thing, and they are still here, and I think
Yeah.
it could be a good thing. It is quite irritating as a woman that for men that strategy works out as far as reducing their threat level and holding back their socialness and their challenge strength. And for women, if you do that, you get voted out because you're perceived as weak. But anyway, happy for
Survivor.
them. Happy it's working for them. Yeah, I mean,
Just
that's
wait,
just
the
life.
payoffs are around the corner. The merge is about to happen. Like, your heads are going to roll. It's going to be great for you. I think Luke has been doing a lot behind the scenes. I think that he is someone who's saying all these things out front and then trying his best to make really good relationships with people and make that less visible. So we'll see if it works out.
Alrighty, let's talk really quickly about Lonan and about Tawa. Lonan, we saw, or we still see from original Lonan, Dan and Leah. Dan and Leah still left in the game at the end of the day today from our original Lonan tribe. What are you thinking about Dan or Leah? Did you notice anything from either of them today? Were you
Yeah.
with them at all?
I have minimal information on Leah. I'm just going to say apologies to Leah and your friends and family. I just didn't get a chance to intersect with her as much.
Why'd we even invite him on here if he doesn't have information about Leah? What's
I
that
know.
about?
It's-
Take it
it's
up
okay.
with Will. He had me filming
Yeah.
other people. I don't know what to tell you. Dan is someone who, at the first start of the game, I thought, wow, this guy's awfully quiet. Like, I'm really not getting a read on him. I've heard a lot of people really gravitating towards him in those open areas, you know, and I think he's doing a really good job getting the target off him, getting it onto other people to survive these tough tribal councils. So, been really impressed with Dan's mind for the game.
I think maybe the reason that you haven't seen Blue a lot is because maybe I've been paired with him quite a bit.
You have.
And it is
Blue.
teal, mint,
Mint.
whatever.
They're the new
Lonan.
Definitely not teal. But mint.
Anyway,
Me too.
It doesn't
Lonan.
matter.
See, this is why
Thank
you
you.
remember the tribe name, because then you don't have to interpret the color. Anyway, I do have to say I am not surprised that those are the last two standing. I think they are people that are just really confident in themselves, are really able to, I think sometimes during that reward day, it's really to get distracted by the frustration of the losing of it all. And those were two people that I thought specifically just didn't let the frustration or the paranoia distract them from their game plan. And again, I'm going to throw out something that could be not true, but I think it might be. Elisa was the original captain of that tribe. I believe that she picked Nick and Aaron first, and Dan and then Leah were the last two people picked.
I know, yeah.
So you were kind of thinking that they were potentially going to be on the outside of those numbers, but I think that is a really great situation of you can kind of be down and out initially, but if you have the social game and the strategic prowess to work your way in there, there's always a chance.
Or as accountants would say, last in, last out, lie low.
So true.
I got a C in accounting. I don't know.
What is accounting? No, I'm kidding.
True.
Last one's picked, you know, right? And then
Yeah.
they're the last ones here.
It makes sense.
Last one's in
Maybe
the game.
there's
yeah.
something to it.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that something I was curious about, and I don't know if you guys have more on this, but in our last tribal council today, we saw our swap tribe. Dan's tribe did go to tribal that last tribal council that we had, and at the last original Lonan tribal earlier, before we had our swap tribes, it was a group of 4, and Leah and Elisa were beside themselves. They were very upset about having to vote out Nick at that tribal, and Dan seemed upset, but seemed separately upset from it. It was like Elisa
Not
and
as
Leah,
upset, I would say.
not as upset.
Not quite as upset.
Like, he was emo, but he was not sobbing. And Leah and Elisa were full-blown, tears streaming down their face, hugging each other, sobbing. Which, again, you get really close in this game. I completely understand. You're allowed to feel in whatever way you want to feel. I'm not saying anything negative about it. But I think that Dan potentially, my interpretation was, probably used that as ammo when he moved to a swap tribe of like, hey, these two are way closer than I am with them. It's clear they're each other's number ones. I was going to be on the outs on my tribe. Like, I'm looking to build these new relationships. And that could have been part of the reason that maybe he wasn't even, I don't think he was targeted that tribal, because he wasn't the one that caught the spare vote or the, you know, the stray vote. So I think my guess is he probably used that to his advantage there. Unsure, but that's what I would do.
I'm also unsure. Love your theory, Sam.
Thank you.
That's a really smart
I'm
one.
glad you have nothing to say, because I do.
If I had thought of it, I would have done the same thing. Good job, Dan. Maybe.
Maybe. 2 things.
What's up, Kelsey?
Probably less emotion, because I think they knew, like, they had the privilege to almost feel the emotion of they probably thought it was their call.
Yeah.
Dan didn't have the privilege to feel sad for Nick because he was the other name that was written down.
Yep.
So he was like still fighting for his life at this point. Versus Leah and Elisa are kind of taking on that emotional responsibility of,
This
we
was our
could have
choice.
saved him and we are not going to. And then I also think, was the live stream at the little captain's?
We were
Okay.
there.
You heard him say in that he was like, yeah, I kind of was. Did he say he volunteered maybe? Or he wanted to go at least? Because he was like, I saw my name written down at last tribal council. So, like, let's go, baby. Like, let's play.
He said something along the lines of like, give me an apple, I'll take a bite. And I was like,
I know.
I've never
Whatever
heard
it
that
was,
before.
I loved it.
It was good.
I loved it. Because he seems like a very, like, sweet, wholesome, congenial man. But I feel like you kind of saw that fire come through a little bit. And he's somebody that I'm definitely rooting for.
All right.
I think Dan, if I were to describe him, like a duck.
Tell me more.
I think I know where you're going with this, but I
Yeah,
want to hear you
know
say it.
You know it. You probably do too.
I don't know. So tell the camera.
Very calm on the surface, but underneath, those legs are paddling. I think
He's
his mind's
kicking.
going a million miles a minute out here. That's my read on Dan.
That is where I thought you were going with that, and
Yeah, you
I
nailed it.
completely agree. We are getting dark very quickly.
Okay,
And I
we
want to
have
get
one
you
more
out of here.
Kick me out.
So, yeah.
Oh, real quick before we move on from this tribe, I just wanted to say that Michelle added in that they call themselves the Lindsay Lohan tribe.
I do
Yeah,
love that.
the Lindsay Lonans, baby.
Lonans.
They've been
That's good.
full of weirdness, and I love them
Full
for
personality.
it. That's the word. Weird personality, though, and I love it. It's very, very fun. They're giving silly energy. Last tribe, Tawa. Currently remaining on that tribe, we have 3 friends, which are Luke M, Ali, and...
Oh, yellow.
Yes. Yep.
Val.
There we go.
Got there.
And
Val.
Val. Thank you. I thought you said Kyle, and I was like, no, it's not. That's simply wrong. So Val, Ali, and Luke M. Any thoughts, feelings, opinions from any of those friends?
Sure, yeah. They've had a really interesting run where they start off losing, think they have to vote someone out, and then they don't go to tribal for a good stretch of time.
Yeah.
I believe that, among those players, Val might have felt like she was on the outs at first.
Interesting.
And that might be something that she's not forgotten in the ensuing time between
Yeah.
that first night and now. I think Ali is someone who's a very interesting player to watch.
Yeah.
He's been, making no bones about his swimming coaching experience. He's jumping in the water. He's another player you might think targeted at the merge, right? Does he have merge boots stamped on him just like me and Luke?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah? I think so.
I think I've seen a lot of times in a few of the challenges, like towards the end when things were getting a little bit more heated, like, oh, we're about to be at merge, we're about to be at swap. He was coaching people a lot. And I think some people like to be coached in challenges and some people do not like to be coached in challenges. It's kind of like a, who are you to tell me how to do this thing that neither of us have done before sort of thing. And so I think that he's intense, and I appreciate intensity as a fellow intense person, but I think that may be something that people are like, kind of like a, hey, we're all here for the very first time kind of thing. Why are you trying to tell me how to play this game? So I don't know if that might come across as a little bit demanding to some other people in the game. I have no idea. So
I think one thing that really sticks out to me with this group, like we talked a little bit about the Red Luke, if you will, Luke R,
Luke.
being somebody that like kind of is really laying under the radar. Luke M, full on opposite to me at least. I think not only is he not shy about performing well, occasionally he does things that I'm like, why are you doing that? It's kind of like the Hunter vibes of when he like hung from his legs in the challenge. Like Luke was like entering the
overachiever
area
bracket.
for the idle hands competition, and instead of just like stepping over or ducking under it like a normal human being, he just like hops right in, like just very casually, just like hops right in.
And the rope was like 3
was
feet
high.
off the ground. Like he high
very
jumped
high.
into the ring.
And there's one other thing that I saw him do that I was just like, oh my gosh, you're being unnecessarily athletic, and
That was so forceful.
it wasn't on me.
I know.
Oh, okay.
It did scare me for a second. I had to like mentally realize it wasn't you, and I was like, Eric, that was so much.
So
I
for
wouldn't
the
be
last
surprised.
15 seconds, I didn't hear a word you were saying. I was just watching a mosquito get closer and closer and closer. So it was like a spring-loaded gun. I just slapped at as hard as I could.
You know what? I do not blame you. Bug
bad out
bites
here.
are
It's
far
bad.
worse.
And
I don't know
than
why
bug
I bothered. I got like 26 other ones. It's like, what's one more, right? But anyway,
Yeah, but
sorry,
anyway,
sorry to interrupt.
Tell me your thoughts on Luke, because I perceive him to be amazing. I'm so impressed by him, so
Yes.
impressed by his confidence. Oh my gosh, the little spiel he gave at the captain's meeting.
At the summit.
Do you think that he's just coming off great and dandy and it's not going to come back to bite him, or do you think he's almost coming across too likable, too athletic, too much of a threat?
You know, I think that it's important to remember, we like to talk strategy here.
Oh, yeah.
We love to talk game and who's setting themselves up for success. Some players like to come out here and just try as hard as they can to win challenges and relish every second of it and enjoy that this is the closest thing to Survivor that there really is.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I think Luke's one of those people. I actually have it on good authority that he wanted to come in here and just do his absolute best.
At everything.
You know what? I heard, rumor has it from his mom, he was a 4-sport athlete.
Oh my
Of
goodness.
in high
course
school.
he was.
How is that even possible? There's
What?
3 semesters,
I was gonna
right?
say,
There's 3
like,
seasons.
What sport are you playing in the winter? What seasonal sport is in the winter?
Apparently he did track and field. He was a thrower of some kind.
Sure.
And then he also jumped on the JV tennis team, because why not?
Just because why not?
Yeah. So that maybe gives you a little bit of insight into where his mind's at. I
Yeah.
think he's here to have fun and do as well as he can at challenges. And let me tell you, he's been crushing the confessionals too. That guy is a natural born talker.
That makes so
Yeah.
much sense, because I'm pretty sure Javin was a 4-sport athlete in high school, and he absolutely was just here to compete and for the vibes.
Yeah.
So
How many sport athletes were you
connection
to?
is making
5,
sense.
6?
I played them all actually at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I played freshman year softball, and then I was bad. I was really bad, so I did theater instead, and
Gotcha.
rightfully so, honestly.
So there's the Lukes, and then there's the rest of us who
Yeah.
don't play 4 sports. And maybe that's what he's here for, is what I
Yeah,
would
and
say.
you know what? I'm loving it. If he looks like he's having a great time, I'm gonna have a great time watching him. So regardless of where he ends up, he's been a really fun person. to
And you
watch
can
play
still
the
win.
game.
A ton
Yeah,
of content.
absolutely.
We've
No
gotten
reason why
a
you
lot
can't.
of good content from Luke M.
Absolutely.
But again, we are getting quite dark. So Eric, before we head out, or we head you out,
We
of
kick you
here,
out.
Please.
before we kick you out physically, any thoughts about going into the merge? What is your one piece of advice or one suggestion for our remaining players? Obviously, they will see it way too late after they've already been voted out.
course, yeah.
But based on what you've seen about the
Probably
gameplay so
probably
far,
for the best for them. honestly. That's
He's just a walking example of what not to do. Actually,
what I was saying. I was like, you brought me in for this after show, the merge one, that's the absolute worst spot to bring me on.
Eric, have you
I have
ever-
no idea how to get through the merge. Dude.
Have you ever seen the show What Not to Wear? This
No,
is
but
what not to do
I
at
think
the
I can
merge.
get where this is going though.
Yeah.
Who not to be?
I could read the context clues.
So what would your advice be if you could give them some advice based on what you've seen in the gameplay so far? Because
Sure.
again, you have had an inside scoop.
Well, I'm going to give my advice to the players who might need it. So there's a lot of players who are already in a far better position than I was. For those who don't know, last year, 10th place, second boot after the merge. Going into the merge, I had a ride or die. Her name was Melissa. And I thought, you know what? I'm one of those people that I'm loud. The people are talking about me. I know it. My plan is to go to sleep and take a nap at the merge and let Melissa do all my work for me. And like go off and like use your great relationships to just make me safe, please. It didn't work. So my advice would be to not do that. And my advice would be to hit the ground running at the merge. And by that I mean get in as many conversations, as many
Absolutely.
one-on-ones as you can. Whisper little bits of encouragement in people. Get people to feel like at the very least you have a chance of working with them, right? I don't think I did that at all. So there's my one bit.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so great. Like genuinely, we might give
Love
you a hard
having you.
time, but that really is great advice, and I appreciate you as somebody who has the ability to kind of, humble yourself,
Yeah.
laugh at yourself.
Thank
But
you,
it really is actually great advice, and
Yeah.
I've had a blast having you here.
Yeah.
We
Thank you
also
so much for
had
joining us.
quite a few people in the comments wanted
Thanks,
to
Kelsey.
shout out to having Eric on, including
Yes.
Sandra.
Ah,
Yeah.
The Queen. Thank you,
Of
Sandra.
course.
That's so nice of you to stop by.
Devontae.
Pass an EC, I'm guessing.
Devontae from last season also says
Yay!
hi.
Devontae, we miss you.
Drew says hi, also from last season.
Drew as well.
Andy
Hey, Drew.
Baker also says
Andy.
hi.
Wish you all were here. I know some of them wanted to be
Yeah.
here and couldn't.
We're missing you
Andy,
this season.
great to see you. Oh, I had so much fun doing confessionals with Andy last season.
Andy's the best.
Yes.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your advice on the merge, but I'm gonna tune into the show to get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be giving it.
Yeah. Next time you need advice on what not to do at the merge, hit me up. I'll be
Yeah,
back next
hey.
season.
See you later.
All right, bye.
Thanks.
I'm gonna get away from the mosquitoes now.
Yeah, do that. Go eat some dinner. Alrighty, so we're gonna do a little bit of a shot put, a slingshot, a shotgun. That's the one. We're gonna do
quickity-zippity.
A quickity zippity shotgun review of the other challenges that we did today. Hopefully, taking a little bit more time to talk about some of our eliminated contestants because we did have some really, really amazing friends who left us today. So after that initial challenge, again, we saw Amelia and Owen go home with those two tribals. We had Last Idol Standing, which is a classic survival and SC challenge where you basically are put into an arena with members of all the other tribes. You got a paddle, you have an idol standing on top of that paddle, and your goal is to knock the idols off of everyone else's paddles and keep your own standing. It is as much a concentration challenge on your own paddle as it is a running around the arena trying to get away from everyone else challenge. We saw a lot of defensive strategy for this one for sure. At the end of this challenge, we saw Tawa getting first place, Wapoon, and then Lonin taking our third spot for immunity. So again, Lonin showing up in the challenges.
Absolutely. At this point, I think I was like, wait, were they hustling everyone yesterday?
Big news.
So I don't know. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was hard to think that that wasn't gonna be a similar trend into today. So it was definitely cool to see them perform really well, and with them performing well, that unfortunately sent Yaya and Coco to another tribal council.
Absolutely. So we had Ryan, Nicole, Kaylee, and Kyle at that tribal. They were down to 4 members. We unfortunately saw Kyle voted out in a 3-1 vote with, again, Kaylee catching that stray vote. We've talked a lot about Kaylee already, so I do want to go to Kyle. Kyle is also an LRG host, so he hosts another game. And I think every time that I saw Kyle, I feel like I could predict that about him. I was like, oh, that makes sense for him. Because I felt like he was very in tune. I feel like he was really locked in all day. I was really surprised to see Kyle
was
go
shocked.
this early in the game.
Shocked.
But again, goes back to 5-person tribe, 4-person tribe. At this point, nowhere to hide. And it was later revealed at another tribal that Nicole, Kaylee, and Ryan had apparently locked in pretty early as a 3. So a little bit of strategy to our friends who maybe want to play in the future. If you have a large group, there's always a majority within that group. If you don't know what the majority is, you're not in it. And then within that group, there's a majority and a majority. And so you're seeing a group of 5. There's going to be a group of 3 within that 5, and there's going to be a group of 2 within that 3. So if you don't know what those dynamics are, it means you're not a part of them. And I think, unfortunately, it seemed like Kyle knew, or had an inkling that he was not a part of that majority on this tribe.
Yeah, I think the perception that maybe I got, and this 100% could be wrong, that at the beginning of the day, there were 2 ways it could have gone. It could have gone Kyle and Kelsey potentially staying, and Kaylee, some combination of Kaylee, Nicole, Kaylee, Ryan going home, and potentially with Nicole being in that swing spot. That could be not correct at all. But anyway, it's hard, like, once it goes one way, it's almost impossible to, like, shift that tide. Kyle is somebody that I don't know, just, like, exuded, like, winner potential to me, and I was shocked to see him go. It's really unfortunate that we lost Owen and Kyle today.
Not our internationals.
I know.
I love
and
that.
I wonder how much that has to do with it. Yesterday we were saying, like, could that be a great thing because they're novel and new, or was that something that was hard because they are, just a little bit different, and it was harder to, like, have those shared experiences? Was it intimidating for other people to hear that they came all the way across the world to play this game? Because I remember even my season, I was like, people came here from California, excuse me?
Yeah.
I thought that was intimidating. So
Yeah.
very sad to see them go. 2 just incredible people and personalities.
Absolutely. And as we all know, it is the 4th of July, so maybe some extra patriotism was just really surging through our contestants' veins, and they were America strong. Hopefully not. After Riayo's Tribal, we went and saw Coco return to Tribal Council, which means that Coco is now going down to 2 people. We had Drew, Declan, and KP at this tribal, and the 3 of them were genuinely beside themselves this whole time. It was very clear they wanted to have this 3 locked in long-term whole game. So seeing Drew go out here in a 2-1 vote with KP catching the spare vote, like, it was emotional through and through. And Drew knew it too. Like, they stood up as soon as that first vote for them was read. So I think that they expected it. Maybe they didn't expect to see their name be the decoy vote and the perception, that they had in their mind. So I don't think it came as a huge shock to them, unfortunately, but it's still devastating to see, because I think from Drew, we saw an incredible performance the first couple of days. Like, they were locked in on the puzzles. I could definitely see their wheels were always turning. So I was sad to see Drew go, and I was also shocked to see them go this early.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of big things to note from that tribal. I think going into it, a lot of us had, it's one of those ones that I don't think any of us really knew how it was going to go. And there was also, I think now I am able to say, an idol in play. The crates, as mentioned in last night's stream, ended up having a key attached to them. They were told that they could either find the key, have it unlock the crate to win their tribe some comfort items, but if they didn't and they kept the key, that would be able to use as an idol until John said a certain phrase, and at that point it would expire. I'm telling you all this now because John has said the phrase and it has expired, so this is no longer pertinent active game information. But anything, all that is to say, KP was the one who had the idol. I perceived coming into this tribal that, potentially Declan and Drew, both identifying as non-binary, could really bond over that, and they would potentially be the closer twosome, and potentially KP would be getting targeted but be able to use the idol. And so I kind of thought she was going to play it. I mean, you have a 1 in 3 chance of going home, and to have the nerve to not play it there, I mean, Eric said it perfect. Like, she's a stone cold killer.
Absolutely. I can't imagine, because I mean, there definitely is reason, because you might be thinking, like, well, why wouldn't she play it? Like, you have such high odds, right? What's the point of not playing it, especially if it's going to expire pretty soon? Like, you could tell based on the phrasing of what it was that John said. It was like shake up the game or something. You're pretty sure it's going to be a swap, if not the merge, and you know that's coming pretty soon. So that being said, the reason KP doesn't play it, in my mind, is that if you play that idol that means that not only did you keep a secret, most likely, from your closest ally of, hey, I found this key, didn't get us the comfort items that we wanted, kept the secret from you, but also, I don't believe you at your word. I think that you're lying to me and I'm about to go home. And all of those things destroy the trust that you built with your closest ally that you just made it so deep in the game with. So I think in an effort to hopefully, you know, really lock in and solidify that relationship with Declan, that's probably a lot of the reason KP didn't choose to play that idol, even though she knew it was going to expire.
Yeah,
So
I love that. I think especially for the rest of the day when there was challenges left, we were all like kind of holding our breaths because if Coco would have lost again, I mean, you know, crazy. Obviously it didn't end up happening, and you know, good for them. I'm happy that, you know, it would have been exciting from a viewer and entertainment value to see it come down to 2 people, but the fact that it would have ended up one of them having an idol and one of them going home by default would have been a really soul-crushing way to go out. If you were Declan. So I am happy that did not happen.
The look on Declan's face would have been shocking, stunned, agape, but the breaking of all of our hearts unanimously, that would have been a toughie. So after we saw Drew go home at that Coco tribal, we went to the next challenge, which was pooling around. This was an extended challenge, basically, where they had to use 2 members of their tribe. So all of them were like, we're swapping. There's no way they're going to do a 2-person challenge, but John, gotcha. We did. So they had to pick 2 people from their tribe to complete like a table maze where they had to get a ball around in a circle and not drop in the holes, with both of them holding it. Then they had to swim across the lake, grab some rings, run across to the gallows, and toss those rings onto a series of nails on the gallows. With this one, we saw a pretty dominant victory in this one, and I believe it was by... I don't have it written down who won this challenge, I'm sorry. But it was... whoever won it by a lot. I think it was...
I mean, it was either Wapoon or Tawa.
Yeah.
They both did great.
Everyone did great.
Yeah.
Wapoon and Tawa, and then we saw a very narrow 3rd place win and last slot of victory by Coco. So KP and Declan, thank you. They were jumping up and down, so ecstatic. Oh. So happy for them.
And something to note, by Over the Cowshade, Drew and Owen specifically, I was right behind them as they were watching this challenge, and it was so sweet to see them like earnestly like hoping for KP and Declan to win so bad. I think sometimes it's super hard when you have gotten voted out, even if you had great relationships with people. It's so fresh that it is really easy to be a little bitter. I mean, Jake Miller from my season historically quite literally like manifested a storm so bad for us that we had to get evacuated from the game after he got voted out. And so to see Owen and Drew so earnestly wanting the best for KP and Declan in the game, it speaks to how genuine that connection was.
Yeah, and how genuine I think both of them are as people. Like, they just talking to them after the game, they're so wonderful. So that did unfortunately send Weeyaya and Lonan to Tribal Council. Weeyaya, again, down to those 3 people, and we've already kind of beat this one down. So I won't go into it too much, but it was Ryan, Nicole, and Kaylee. And this one, I think, did really shock Ryan that he was the one that went home here with Kaylee again, catching that stray. And I think really goes to show that even though at every tribal council, John asked, do you think there's anyone pushing this vote? Do you think there's anyone who's having a really strong voice? It's pretty clear Nicole was the one having the strong voice. Like, she was in the swing vote position. She was making a lot of those major decisions. I think people were congregating around her on that tribe, and Kaylee was just the one she chose to stick with. I think she had her kind of pick of the litter there. So, perks to Nicole.
Yeah, I love that for her as well. I think Kaylee is the more, like, kind of visibly threatening or dominating of the 2. But I think clearly, at least in this situation, it came down to Nicole. Like, she could have gotten Kaylee out if she wanted to, which who knows, maybe that speaks to Kaylee's social game. But at the end of the day, Nicole is the one that held the agency in this decision, and she is just somebody that I am really excited to see what she can do in this game. I think she's... is spunky just not the best word?
It really is.
Or scrappy? I don't know.
Scrappy?
I don't know.
I was gonna try and combine scrappy and spunky, but I feel like that would make a really silly, weird
Spunky.
word, and I don't think
Yeah,
I like
I don't
it.
like that.
So I'm gonna just
But anyway,
ignore it.
I'm really excited for her. I think she's a little bit smaller in stature, so maybe with that goes a little bit overlooked. But I think she is somebody that we all should
Big
watch out
contender.
for.
Yeah. And I think I stand by it. Kaylee is as well. I said that, and I said that early. So if she comes back and wins, rewind the tapes, and everyone knows it. Alrighty, next one. So then we saw Lonan go to Tribal Council for the first time since that first one of the very, very beginning. So they held off a long time today. I was super proud of their performance, and I know we've said that, but I wanted to say it again. And we had Dan, Nick, Elisa, and Leah at Tribal. Again, I mentioned it earlier. This was a very emotional Tribal for Lonan as well, specifically from Elisa and Leah. And we saw them vote out Nick in a unanimous vote, with Dan catching the stray vote there, which again, we said led Dan to go to the summit and do all these things later in the day. But Nick, I think, had by far the best vote out of the day. He was just a ham. That guy gave me Phil vibes from last year. Like, really just, like, was there, good team TV, was silly goofy, gave a little, like, heartfelt message on his way out to his team. I think he was really, really proud of the way he performed today. I think he had a slow start at the beginning of the day. I don't know if or not the beginning of the day, but the beginning of the game, from my kind of, like, grapevine I heard, and some of his friends who are here as well. He got a bit of a slower start, wasn't communicating as much, I think wasn't in his head a lot about how he was being perceived. So to see him really be able to get past that first vote for his tribe and then make a lot of connections and just have a really good day. It seemed like he got out of his head today, had a lot more fun, and you love to see people enjoying the game, and I think he really did, and left on a much more positive note. And I'm just really happy and loved seeing him play. He's silly.
Absolutely. He is, just as you can tell from his exit, like a genuine kind soul. He was somebody that I know was pretty open about the elements really getting to him and infecting him. I know that he was struggling in a physical capacity, and when you're struggling physically, that's so hard to not let it affect you mentally and emotionally. And to know that he kind of like pushed through that and was still like so positive and so grateful for this experience was really cool to see. And he is just somebody that I don't think much can dim his light, and it's cool to see that light shine.
Absolutely. So he was our last vote out in the original tribes. We then had the summit, which we've kind of alluded to a bit. We haven't explained super thoroughly, so I'll take a second to do that before getting into our eventual swap tribes. So the summit was basically an opportunity where each tribe could select one member from their tribe, however they wanted, to attend the summit. And the summit was basically an opportunity to affect the game, or some really super vague thing that John put on some tree. Well, John didn't make the tree mail, but somebody put on some tree mail. So they choose a random. Did you do it? Was it you?
No.
You looked at me like that, like you wrote that, like, oh,
to be
God.
honest, I was kind of giggling because I was thinking, karma takes all my friends to the summit.
Okay, we're Swifties. Drop some Taylor Swift lyrics that you think this season relates to in the chat, and we will feature them on next episode, if Will remembers or if either of us remember, which is to say we probably won't. Moving forward, they attended the summit. So most of the tribes, when they picked their player, at least we heard from the players about how they ended up attending. A lot of them volunteered. Some of them, every member of their tribe wanted to go, so it was the rock, paper, scissors battle. Like, there was a lot going on for all of them getting there. But basically, what it boiled down to was these 5 players, Dan, Paul, Luke M, KP, and Nicole, were chosen in some way from their tribe to attend the summit to affect the next stage of the game. What they didn't know was that these 5 players were going to be awarded the opportunity to choose one of 2 ways to affect the swap phase of the game. They could either choose to play for the opportunity to win an individual advantage, so not necessarily a guaranteed advantage, but a chance to win one, or moving into the swap portion of the game, they would have the opportunity to swap for sure guaranteed with one person of their choice from their tribe. So for our KP and our Nicole attending the summit, they only have one option. They only have one tribe member left with them. However, for Dan, Luke M, and Paul, they would have had the option of any of their tribe members had they chosen that one. We do not know what everyone chose at the summit. The only person we know, because we followed him into the voting booth, was Dan, chose to compete for an individual advantage. However, we don't know if Dan got an individual advantage. If he completed the puzzle correctly during the time, and I think there was another stipulation, but we don't know if Dan got it, what he got, nothing like that. That was the only thing we knew. Everybody else, we don't know what they picked because it was all anonymous. So they could have picked to be with their tribe mate, or they could have picked the advantage. However, when we see our swap tribes, we can kind of determine what we think they chose to do. So let's go ahead and read through what our swap tribes are. We went from 5 tribes to 3. So our new Wiaya tribe, which is the orange tribe, is Paul, Griffin, Luke, Ali, and Elisa. So that's 2 from original Wapoon, 2 from original Tawa, and 1 original Lonan. On the new Lonan tribe, which is Mint, we saw Kat, Ned, Kaylee, Nicole, and Dan. So that's 1 original Tawa, 1 original Wapoon, 2 original Wiaya, and 1 original Lonan. So a little bit of everything. And then that last tribe was the new Wapoon, so the new Coral tribe. We saw Val, Declan, KP, Luke R, and Leah. So that's 1 original Tawa, 2 original Coco, 1 original Wapoon, and 1 original Lonan. So pretty solid split up. Based on what we can see here, we pretty much know for sure that both Nicole and KP chose to be swapped with an original member of their tribe because they wouldn't have ended up on the same tribe otherwise. There's really no way. So we do know that those 2 made that choice. However, Paul and Luke's choice, we really don't know. They both ended up with a member of their original tribe. We saw them both on new Wiaya, but that one could have just been luck because, again, there were a ton of members of their original tribes left. So we don't know. Yeah, that was a lot. I spoke for a really long time.
Okay.
It was a lot of information.
I mean, I might know, but also,
do you want? No,
I don't know. I don't know if you
Mystery.
can know.
I like the
don't know.
mystery,
I don't
personally.
want John to yell at me. And honestly, anything that comes out of my mouth at this point could be wrong. And these bugs are really starting to come out, so let's just not explain it. That way we can get done sooner.
I love that. Yeah, so they swapped. It was dramatic. They all had a great time with it. They were very thankful, I think, to get out of their very...
Swap
I saw swap to go on the Instagram.
I don't know. I was getting silly later in the day.
The longer you're here, the more delirious you become. So that's what we're at. We saw the next challenge after the swap. They had a little bit of time, but again, we were running really late today, so things were moving and grooving by the end of the day. Was our food challenge. I want to preface by saying Survival Challenge does a food challenge pretty much every season. So if you're going to come out here, be prepared to eat something. But Macomb Munchies is not a gross food challenge necessarily. I don't like using the term gross food challenge because anything that we eat on our challenge is something that people eat, right? So I don't really like that term. It's really just a food that are difficult to eat challenge. So we might mix some foods up. We might do a food that's not local to Macomb, or something that maybe if it's sitting out in the sun doesn't taste as good as if you eat it fresh. So all of them are different types of food.
Spicy or like dry, like the oysters. Yeah, difficult food to eat.
Spicy like jalapenos. So just food that's difficult to eat. The 5 foods we saw here were a plate of oyster crackers, which again, no water, dry mouth. Refried beans and jalapenos, which was very spicy. You can see it, the look on their faces when they were eating it. Some live superworms, sardines and horseradish combined, and then a V8 and prune juice, like little concoction that they came up with. The players had to compete in heats. They could either choose the food they wanted to eat or choose who they wanted to compete against from the other tribes, and we saw everybody choose the food that they wanted to eat. The oyster crackers, the worms, the sardines and horseradish, and the refried beans and jalapenos were the 4 foods we saw eaten until new Wiaya, came to a very swift defeat. They did not score any points in this challenge. They were not vibing with the gross food. Though I will say, Luke M was very close to winning his heat. So I think that, again, as Eric said, he came to play, he came to have a good time. He's here for Team TV, and I enjoy watching him, so it's working.
Absolutely.
You want to talk about that tribal?
Yes. So with that, we had New Wiaya going to Tribal Council, and that was an interesting one. We had Paul and Griffin from an original tribe. We had Ali and Luke from an original tribe, and Elisa kind of on an island from,
Original Lonan.
only, no friends. Which is, always a tough place to be. Sometimes you want to be in that position because maybe, hey, you're the swing vote. But unfortunately, we saw all the guys gang up on the girly pop, and
she was such a girly pop. She was just team energy. Oh my god, I loved Elisa's energy. She was just so fun. The entire time she's been here, I really think she had the time of her life playing, and you could definitely tell So I was really, I was sad to see her
So
go.
positive. Like,
Yes.
she was the loudest cheerleader for her tribe, out of anyone for all the tribes. Such a great spirit, and she's put in a difficult place. I don't know as much about what kind of went behind that socially. We don't know how well connected Paul and Griffin are, and Luke and Ollie are, because we don't know if that was like their choice to be with them or if it was their choice to go for the advantage. So I'll be definitely interested to learn a little bit more about those dynamics.
Yeah, I did hear a little bit of grapevine, and I'm saying this because I actually don't know how true it is that I heard there was a little bit of like a strawberry lemonade alliance kind of thing from the original pink and the original yellow tribe, which I thought was a very cute little nickname for an alliance. So it's kind of maybe something behind the scenes that was teaming up was there was this alliance of tribes coming. But then we saw Atala go home the very next tribal council. So in a pink
Maybe a
voted for them.
counterattack.
Yeah, maybe a counterattack. So seeing Elisa go home, I was really shocked that they chose that because again, we saw a lot of them thinking they were going to spend at least a few votes in these swap tribes before the merge. So for them to say, you know what, we're so confident we think we're only going to lose one challenge because now you're down to a 2-2 after that. Like you're with an OG ally, like that's rocks, baby. Like that's
Chris
crazy.
O'Neal, baby.
That's Chris O'Neal, baby. Like that's crazy pants. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I would love to know.
I would love to know.
I don't know.
Tell us someday. Yeah. But I want 99% of the time you love to be Elisa in that spot because you're the swing vote, you're picking it up. Because then you have one extra vote of the other person from the team you voted out. But I mean, again, it worked out for them, right? Yeah. They all made it to the merge. They made the right choice, I think. But they didn't know they made the right choice at the time. So, last challenge of the day, we had Sumo at Sea. One of the best challenges in Survival Challenge history. We debuted it a couple seasons ago, I'm pretty sure. And that's basically where we put a big floating platform in the middle of the pond. People get these like giant pad things, and they just ram into each other and try and push each other off of the floating platform. I will say this is probably, if not definitely, the most physical challenge we do on Survival Challenge. It's definitely like rough and tough, and as you push people off. But we do, I mean, it's the most mild version of the challenge possible, I will say. We make them start on like down on their knees, so it's a little bit easier to knock each other off. They're not flying into the water. And it did go pretty well. We had 4 matchups, so each of the 4 members of the tribes that competed had to go up in the challenge one time, and then the tribe basically that lost the most of the matchups was the one that went to tribal council. So unfortunately, we did see New Lonan go to tribal council after Sumo at Sea.
Yeah, it's funny because I think, you love to see those classic physical challenges on the show proper, and I don't like them as much in person. Because in person, I mean, they're still exciting, but like not danger, but like the sounds are a lot more real. Like you can actually hear when, bone or meets bone, or I don't know, you can hear the context, you can feel the pain. When it's in the show, it feels like it's real, but feels less real to you because there's the fancy editing and the music, and you're not
friends with the people who are playing and like hearing them get injured.
So as much as I do love a physical challenge, when I'm watching the players, I'm like and like, please no, don't do that. Yeah, absolutely. And so with that we saw New Lonan get the tribal council hook, and that, just for a reminder, is Kat, Ned, Kaylee, Nicole, and Dan. And this one, again, we did see our lone Tala on that tribe go home. So Kat went home in a unanimous vote, 4-1, with Nicole catching the stray vote. So I'm curious if that was Kat's push on the way out of like, hey, Nicole seems like she's really well insulated, or potentially even going after the duo on that tribe. I thought that was one of the things that I talked about a lot on the stream earlier. Was I thought it was really curious if people did choose to swap with one of their partners from their tribe, like you're choosing to like be seen as a duo moving forward in the game. You're choose to be seen with your closest ally. Like that can be potentially really dangerous, but worked out for Nicole and Kaylee here because they made it out unscathed. Yeah, I mean, looking at this tribe, you have the 2 former oranges, but then you have the single Ned red. Then
Single
you have
lead
the single yellow cat, and the single blue Dan. And so, 3 usually beats 2.
Yeah.
In most scenarios. But sometimes I think it goes to show that sometimes it is the tightest group, not the largest group, that can prevail. And Nicole and Kaylee clearly did what they needed to do to
Absolutely.
convince
Not even
enough people to not vote them out. I do think what was interesting is even though it was these 2 and then 3 others, we do know kind of now after the fact that there is a connection between Kat and Ned. They are both alumni from Squid Game: The Challenge,
I forgot.
the Netflix version. And you hear that, okay, there was hundreds of contestants. They very well could not have been connected. I do believe we have learned since from confessionals that they are real life friends.
That's crazy.
And so from my point of view, it kind of was a 2 over here with the Dan, the Lonan, kind of being in the middle.
Yeah.
And I was very interested to see what would play out. I wonder if it was kind of one of those things where Orange was able to
Pick up Dan.
And talk about that. They I was gonna make a bad joke, but they were not a bad joke, but a joke that you would make.
A joke that's silly. That
Something
I'm about
they spoiled the strawberry lemonade or something like that. They were able to.
I'm so glad you didn't make that joke.
I don't have enough brain power up here to think about it quick enough. It would have been great. So
I am curious about that vote though. If Orange, right, if Nicole and Kaylee were able to pick up Dan and then they say, hey, by the way, we're going for Ned. Did Ned need convincing, right? Or did he say, well, it's pointless for me to try and vote with Kat anyways, right? She may be my friend, but I can't save her. Right. So why hurt my relationships with these other people that I'm gonna stay in the game with just to be nice to my friend even though she's going home anyways?
It's also unclear if they chose to reveal to the cast
absolutely,
that they knew each other. So he might have really wanted to save her on a personal level, but on a social level, if they were trying to hide that, it would look very odd if he all of a sudden was super trying to stick his neck out for somebody that he apparently doesn't know and hasn't been paired up with.
True.
So we do lose Kat there. She was one of those ones that I'd kind of talked about, seemed like such a fun personality, from her cast photo, and not somebody that I quite got as good of a view of that I would have liked to. But
I think what I saw from Kat today is Kat was always reading. Not a book, but she was reading the game, observing the game constantly, and I think that may have been both a positive and negative to her game, because I think because she was reading so much, I think she was able to get a lot of reads on the game, a lot of accurate reads of hey, I think this is the way it's unfolding, which makes sense because she voted for Nicole, who was a good person to try and push as the vote.
Absolutely.
It was a logistically smart choice to pick. But I think because she was a bit more observational, I think that may have been a detriment to her making some of those relationships on her tribe. That was one of my options for what could have happened. My second option is they needed to get rid of a Tawa, and she was the Tawa on their tribe.
Because Tawa had not...
They still had 4 members from their original tribe.
They didn't attend Did they attend a tribal council with their original tribe? No.
They did not, no.
And so those 1 or 2 of them had separately from their swap tribes, they had not voted out an original member. Yeah. And I bet that really came into play, which is really unfortunate for Kat, because it really could have been less to do with who she is as a person, and more so the shirt color that she had on her back.
Absolutely.
And I think you see that a lot of times with some of those votes, right before the merge, it's coming, and so you're really looking at the numbers of it all rather than the people of it all.
Yeah.
And she's somebody who I feel like if one more thing could have went her way and she would have been able to get one more vote through and made it to the merge, she really could have had a lot of game left in her.
Absolutely. It's something where you want to even the playing field as much as possible before the merge. And I think that had we seen the other tribe go, what new Wupon, Wapoon. If we saw a new Wapoon go, I think that we very likely could have seen Val go for the exact same reason, being the lone Tawa on that tribe, wanting to even the playing field going into a potential merge situation pretty soon. But that does make, officially, Val the only person in the game who has not yet attended Tribal Council. So going into the merge, half the people in this game are gone, and Val has never had to write down a single person's name.
Good for her.
Okay, let's.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been me, or you for that matter, but good for them. Very last thing of the day, before we get out of here, because it's 9:49 p.m. Central Time, was we did merge. Everybody was very excited, very shocked. They thought there were going to be at least a couple more vote outs within their groups. But honestly, Survival Challenge, we do usually merge around 13. Not every time,
Very
don't
Taylor
take my
Swift
word
quoted
for
of
it.
us.
But we do usually merge around them because we have a really big tribe, or a really big group to start with. So like, I think one time in like season 6 we merged at 9 and everyone was absolutely livid because they were like, that's like 3/4 of the cast gone, or don't check my math. Anyways, after the merge, we had a merge auction. We have all complained in the past about the fact that you get nothing when you merge at Survival Challenge, but it's also only a 5-day experience, so maybe chill out a little bit. But we did have a merge auction, and so they had the opportunity to go on one of 4 excursions, and those were getting a shower and some snacks, doing a little pizza party, getting a veggie platter, or eating some burgers and hot dogs. Little did they, well actually they did know, but they did not know how many people were going to be allowed to attend that excursion. So multiple people were allowed to go on all of these, and they were given little challenge bucks to spend to pay to go on these excursions, and they could team up their money with another person, and whoever spent the most money would get to go. But you could have maybe a group of 4 people all wanting to go to the pizza party, and if it's only an event for 3 people to attend, one of you who just paid to attend that event, you're not going anymore. So it was honestly a lot more diplomatic when they did it than I would have been, because I would have tried to attend anything. And it seemed like there were a few people that were like, nope, that's cool, you attend, no worries, I'll just hang back at camp. And I do think a lot of the reason for that is because they expected there to be some kind of advantage, some kind of something back at camp for them. Whether there was or not, I am unsure. I don't know, and I wouldn't tell you if I did. But that is a potential option for maybe why they wanted to not get one of these rewards, because they thought they would be rewarded a different way.
Yeah, and, I'm not saying anything either, but what I am saying is the aforementioned idol on the stream is no longer active, and so usually when something becomes active, yeah, I don't know, I think transitive property or science, then like something else might become active. So
one goes out, one comes in.
Yeah, Lilo or whatever that was.
Lilo,
he needs
Eric.
to stop talking about math.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the 4 excursions. Oh,
no.
go.
No, just also the challenges for comfort.
Oh yeah, no, talk about that.
I wasn't there. So.
Okay, I'll talk about that. So I will say our friends who didn't end up with anything, didn't get to go on any of the excursions, were KP, Val, and Ned. And the 3 of them ended up doing some challenges at the end of the night that would determine how many of the survival items they earned earlier in the week actually are going to follow them through the next 2 nights. So if they end up with no tarps and no food or no pot, no flint, no anything, it's going to be KP, Val, and Ned's fault. But that is a pretty heavy burden to place on 3 people's shoulders, so I'm hoping everyone gives them a little bit of grace, because I actually didn't watch the challenges, so I told you I was going to tell you. I don't know. I did not watch them. I came to get some pulled pork for dinner.
As you should.
As I should. I was hungry too.
We can figure it out for y'all tomorrow.
You'll hear about it.
I think one thing is interesting. I too was not there for this. But how much... I am. I wear a lot of hats here. Quite literally, because usually I have bad hair days, but then also metaphorically. I'm interested to know how much the players weighed out what they wanted as far as like the pizza, shower, burgers, veggies, versus who they wanted to be with. Because I don't know. If it were me, yes, it's hard to turn down the cravings for food and comfort, but like this is the merge, baby. Like you need to be paying more attention to ever of who you're getting individual time with, and the reason why these we classically kind of have a bigger reward at this time. The reason why it's so I think important is you don't get a ton of secluded time with people
Absolutely
to
not.
have those like more genuine and open conversations, whether it's about like just getting to know people
Yeah.
for like a social perspective or using that time to discuss strategy. So I don't know what went into their individual decisions, but we'll see if we can get a scoop on that for you for sure.
I'm also very interested. I think something you guys don't get to see a ton until maybe you watch the episodes for some of our seasons later is that we do have, really awesome camps on the property, but they're quite small. The camps, there's not room for you to, walk down the beach with somebody on your own. If you leave to talk to someone individually, it's very obvious that you are doing that. You can tell. It's just like, it's probably the camps are the size of this dock or smaller, honestly. So it's really obvious. So like Kelsey said, you're not getting a lot of time to break off. And also it's a very like kumbaya moment at the merge a lot of the times where it's like, if you're the first to break off, you're an easy vote because you're playing too hard now at the merge. There's a lot of, it's another time where, similar to the beginning of the game, an inch becomes a mile, a molehill becomes a mountain, all those things. So let's get into really quickly who went on each excursion to see maybe what we think about their choices. Shower and Snacks ended up being Leah and Kaylee. They have not been together so far. I'm not sure about first night if they were together or not, but Leah and Kaylee went together on that, so I think they'll probably have a lot to talk about today. The pizza party ended up being Paul, Ollie, and Griffin. This one, though, I was surprised to see because that is a configuration of people who have been together today, both in their swap tribe, all three of them, and then Paul and Griffin the entire time. Like they were together on original tribe. So like I'm curious to know how that ended up. Was it just
How intentional was it, or are they just guys who love pizza?
Are they just guys who love pizza?
Are they just guys being dudes? I'm not sure.
I will say there were also, I think, 5 people who initially were in the pizza party group, so it came down to some rock, paper, scissors for that one. So
Okay.
we don't know. Veggie platter ended up being Luke M, Nicole, and Luke R, who went on that one. And I will say Luke M was originally a part of a different group, but no one wanted to eat veggies with Nicole, who I think is either a vegetarian or can't have the rest of the food. So that was the only one she could participate in. So he kind of was like, no, I'll do this with you. That way you have enough money to make sure you get it. And
Social game, baby.
social game Luke M. And he was being a sweetie about it.
He is a sweetie.
He is a sweetie. Burgers and hot dogs ended up being Dan and Declan, and that was a larger group that ended up getting whittled down. And we saw Ned, unfortunately, who did not end up going on any of the excursions, float from group to group to group to group, and they all welcomely included him until the groups were not large enough for him to be a part of it. And he was like, no, you guys go, you guys go.
Yeah, that was something I feel like Eric spoke to earlier of how he is, really working that social angle of, hey, no, you guys take it,
Yeah.
I'm good. And, I think people, being a nice human matters.
People gravitate
This
to nice
game
people.
is not all just strategy. I think we love the strategy side of it. It's fun to talk about, but just being a nice person gets you far in this game and in life. So be nice people.
Be nice people. And that's honestly a perfect note to end on. Just be a nice person. Will, I literally told Will earlier today, I was like, stop us halfway through if there are any questions we need to answer. What did we do? Yap. So, Will, now that it's at the very end, are there any questions you'd like for us to answer? Any comments you want to shout out
Just a
before we
couple
head
to
out?
bring up. First, he literally just said it, and I thought it was really funny. Ant said, "Just guys who love pizza." Episode title.
Yeah.
Love that. But also, he mentioned the cat situation may be similar to when Kelsey played.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do love cats. And I was voted out just before the merge because I was on yellow and we won everything. So
And you
you're
were
not
really
wrong.
cool, beautiful, and amazing, and they were all
Yeah,
jealous.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah, I didn't bring it up. Somebody else did. Who
Yeah.
was it? Anthony?
Yeah. And then I guess one last
Our
one that was
loyal
also,
commenter.
I don't know why we continue to give him so much love. It's like he's a winner or something. But,
I'm honestly sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it.
and this is a good one to end on though. The Macomb silly struck us all in different ways. It's like an epidemic.
I
Who's that
love
from?
that.
Ant.
Oh, okay.
Oh God! Stop! Stop
right.
giving such good content.
We are getting eaten alive, and I never get bug bites, so like we
Now it's saying
really
something.
need to leave. Hopefully we'll have some good little tidbits maybe to catch you up in the morning because the merge
Yes.
night is such a busy night.
It's gonna be juicy. We're gonna get lots of tea tonight. We'll share it with you on the stream in the morning. Me, Taylor, and Isaiah, bright and early. I do think we start either at like 8 a.m., maybe 8:30 tomorrow morning, I think. So expect to stream around that time. Again, Central Time, so that'll be 9 on EST if that's where you're watching from, and all the other time zones. I'm sure you can do that math because mine hasn't been great tonight. So please come and join us. If you can't join us, recap document, after show, a million ways to engage. Kelsey's Instagram stories. Go look at her beautiful graphics that she's made. She worked really hard on them and they look great.
Will's incredible idea,
Your
my
beautiful
execution, and that's why we make a great team.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us. I
Good night.
promise we're going to try and start earlier tomorrow.
We are. We've come up with some solutions. We're
Good
gonna make
night.
it happen.
Yes. Goodbye. Okay, we're leaving. Yeah.
literally leaving.
Cut the stream.
Literally. I'm not even waiting.